Yo guys, what is going on? Got a VictoryGreymon Red. You could call this Omnimon Red as well. It focuses around getting out VictoryGreymon as well as building up into an eventual Omnimon and just going to town with your big boss monsters, your big dragons here, and deleting your opponent's cards in the process. It's a very fun deck, and you're playing a lot of vanillas as well as a lot of powerful level 6s and 7s, but let's go ahead and get into it. So starting off with the Digi-Eggs, I'm playing one copy of Digimon because he's a very nice effect for the 1000 attack boost whenever your opponent has 5 or more cards in trash. But I think the primary egg in this deck that works better in most situations is 4 copies of Sakudomon. Sakudomon has the effect of when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon is level 7, gain 1 memory. So because I'm playing Omnimon in this deck, I think this is a very, very powerful deck. Unfortunately, it is only once per turn, so you can't trigger this multiple times, but I think it is a very, very solid effect, and there are other ways to boost DP in this deck, so I'm not of the mind that Digimon is absolutely necessary because I am playing things like Agumon and Gyomon, but he is still solid nonetheless, so that is going to do it for the Digi-Eggs. And then for the level 3 count, I am playing 4 copies of starter deck Agumon. Agumon is, of course, just a good generic plus 1000 DP boost. Very solid overall, and this comes in handy many, many times because a lot of your, actually every level 6 I'm playing in this deck is 12,000. So putting them past that 12k threshold into 13,000, yes, they do still lose to something like a Nidhogmon, but more often than not, they will survive insecurity unless you are hitting a level 7. So then for the other level 4s, or sorry, level 3s, I am playing 4 copies of Gyomon. So Gyomon, again, the 1000 attack boost is nice. For him, you do need to have 5 or more cards in your opponent's trash, like they need to have 5 or more cards in their trash, but that's not too hard to get to that condition because of all the effects you are playing in this deck that end up deleting your opponent's Digimon. So that's kind of the whole strategy here, is just deleting your opponent's Digimon and controlling the board from there, and then simultaneously boosting your own Digimon's attacks. So then for the other level 3s, I am playing 4 copies of Monodramon. He's just a good generic level 3 that is a 2 drop and 3000 attack. I think vanillas are still very, very relevant in the metagame, especially because you can do something like play him for a 2 cost, evolve into a champion for a 3, and you still have not passed turn because usually you are starting your turn with 3. So I think that is absolutely fantastic. And to round off the rookies, I'm just playing 2 copies of Biyomon. This Biyomon has the if it is your turn, gain 1 memory once deleted. I think it's pretty solid. Not the biggest fan of this card because this isn't really like a rookie rush type deck, so you're not going to be throwing this into your opponent's security all that often, but it is nice nonetheless. So that is it for the level 3s. For the level 4s, I'm playing 4 copies of your blocker Cordramon. Cordramon, of course, is a staple in every red deck unless once we get to BT5, then we will have access to Monochromon, I believe, the 1-cost red blocker, but until then we're stuck with Cordramon. I still do think 6000 is nice, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but of course blockers are staple in pretty much every deck. And then in addition to that, I am playing 4 copies of Dark Tyrannomon. Again, like I said, we are playing a lot of vanillas in this build because you really do want to build up to your level 6 as quickly as possible. Taking a page straight out of Omni Red where you're playing things like Dark Tyrannomon, not playing Phoenixmon in this deck, but that is definitely an option, but just again to build up into your megas as quickly as possible. And then for the other level 4s, I'm playing 2 copies of starter deck Greymon. This Greymon gives your Digimon security attack plus 1 whenever attacking. Only 2 copies of this because I also did want to fit in 2 copies of a BT4 GeoGreymon. GeoGreymon has the awesome Digiburst effect where you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 4000 or less DP, and then you get to, just detach to and kill any other Digimon. So that can work on a number of rookies and champions, so I think that's pretty sweet. And then Greymon, of course, giving your Digimon the ability to hit for 2 security checks. I like 2 and 2. This one kind of does conflict with Rise Greymon as well as Victory Greymon sometimes because you need 2 cards, 2 materials. So let's say you have a stack of 4 materials. You need 2 for each effect, so you can only ever resolve 2. You won't be able to resolve Geo and then Rise and then Victory, if that makes sense. You'll only ever be able to do Geo and then Victory, or Rise and then Victory, or, I mean, you usually want to do those ones, right? So only 2 copies of him because I am playing the other Digiburst targets, and sometimes if you have too many Digibursters in your hand, it can get kind of clogged. And then, of course, this guy, because just being aggressive in a red deck is really good. So that is it for the level 4s. For the level 5 Digimon, I am playing 4 copies of Groundramon again, because vanillas are very, very good. He is a cheap play cost as well as a Digivolve cost. A 5 to play and a 2 to Digivolve. You cannot beat that as far as level 5s go, so he's just absolutely fantastic. And then for the others, I'm playing 3 copies of BT4 VictoryGreymon. This guy's absolutely fantastic. He has 2 really great effects. The first one is more relevant in this deck because it is a red deck. Basically, you get to Digiburst 2 and play any level 4 or level 4 cost 4 or lower red or yellow tamer. In this deck you are going to be playing reds, but you can play it for free, so that's pretty sweet. And then the other one is just a -2000 boost whenever attacking, a -2000 DP on one of your opponent's Digimon, but again, this isn't really a DP reduction deck, so that does come up occasionally though. And then 1 copy of Voltramon for the security attack +1. Finally have a generic security attack +1 attacker in the form of Voltramon. You could definitely swap this out for a 4th copy of VictoryGreymon, but again, this isn't like extremely like tamer focused, but you are just playing, you're playing a couple copies of Marcus, but this guy does come in handy, so that's why I opted 3 in 1, but of course you could definitely play 4 of this if you wanted to. Now for the level 6, I am playing 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of VictoryGreymon. VictoryGreymon is just absolutely an amazing card. He has the Digiburst 2 effect. Basically, you get to detach 2 materials from him whenever you end up Digivolving him, and then you can delete something with 8000 DP or lower. So that basically encompasses every level 5 in the game. So being able to snipe level 5s before your opponent has the chance to build up into a very, very powerful Digimon is pretty nice. And then, of course, he's 12,000 DP. The only real downside about him is that he is a 4 to Digivolve. So most of the times when you are resolving this, you will have to pass turn. And then for the rest of the level 6s, I am playing 3 copies of VictoryGreymon. Same kind of idea, just another Greymon name with a very powerful DP and very powerful when Digivolve effect. He also has piercing. That's a little bit less relevant because I'm not really playing a way to specifically suspend my opponent's Digimon, but he does have the effect where when Digivolve triggered, Digivolve -2 on one of your opponent's Digimon. So that is really, really nice, being able to just get rid of problematic cards such as Chaosmon, Valder Arm, or any other Digimon like Millenniumon with an on-deletion effect that you really don't want to deal with. So that is why I opted 3 copies of him. And then lastly, for the level 7s, just playing 2 copies of Omnimon. I don't really need to explain why Omnimon is so good in the metagame. He does everything you want in a boss monster. You can attack multiple times, 15,000 DP stat line, and then deletes any Digimon upon entry to the battlefield. So this guy's super, super good. Playing all red level 6s in this deck, so he's pretty easy to get out. Now, if you do want to have a more budget alternative to this deck, of course, these guys are available in the regular art, which is much cheaper than the alt art here, and then I would recommend swapping out 2 copies of Omnimon for 2 more copies of Gaia Force, because I'm actually only playing 2 Gaia Force in this deck. And then for the Tamer cards and option cards, I'm playing 3 copies of Marcus Damon. Marcus is a very, very good option for this specific kind of deck, or any type of Greymon focused strategy. Basically, he's a memory tamer, so he'll set your memory to 3 at the start of the turn, and if you are attacking with a Digimon with Greymon in its name, you can suspend him on that attack and gain 1 memory. So that is just super fantastic. It stacks, so if you do have multiple Marcuses, you can trigger that effect multiple times, which I've done in the past, and it's absolutely fantastic. And not to mention, you can get him out for free with not only VictoryGreymon, but also with the option card, Trident Revolver. This card is very, very underrated. It has 2 really great effects. First of all, you get to delete something with 6,000 or lower DP, which is already pretty decent. That's like the threshold of Shield of the Just, I believe, and it's about a similar cost. I think that card is a 6 cost as well. But this card also lets you play a level 4 or lower red or yellow tamer once you have done, the previous effect. If you've done the previous effect, then you get to play one of these guys. So basically, the idea here is to delete one of your opponent's Digimon and then get a Marcus out for free in the process. So it's just super, super fantastic, especially when you hit it off of security, because then you don't even pay for the 6 costs. And then lastly, I'm just playing 2 copies of Gaia Force. Didn't feel like more than 2 was necessary, because I'm also playing Trident Revolver, I'm playing VictoryGreymon and Omnimon and VictoryGreymon, so many other removal cards. But again, if you do want to play more copies of this, I would recommend taking out the Omnimons for extra Gaia Forces. But that is going to do it for this profile. But if you did enjoy the video, go ahead and let let me know down in the comments below. What do you think of VictoryGreymon? Do you think he's a very meta competitive card? Do you think he has his place in the meta, or do you think he is a more obscure card and I have no business playing him in an Omnimon deck? But anyways, guys, that is going to be the video. If you did enjoy, go ahead and let me know, like, comment, all that stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.